Hey, we'll make it an official start the thing. It's a Thursday. It's the Mattriarchy. I'm here with Nicholas Mueller, and
So,
I don't know where everyone else is, but I decided to just pull the trigger and try this because tonight there is a good chance that tonight we are live on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube at the same time. I've
yeah, I
never
hope it shows
streamed
up.
anything to Twitch before and have no reason to think anyone will find me there, but I decided to
And
try it
I don't.
anyway.
Yeah, it says you're showing up, so
Oh,
you came
really?
up on my end, so you're good.
Well, hey, look at that!
Cool.
I may take the nonsense that is my weekly show onto Twitch now. Apparently, I just can't set it up too far ahead of time or plan to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll put it out on Twitter as well, so people know what's going on.
Hey, Twitless, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I miss your little icon there.
Well, because I'm on this new streaming platform, right?
Yes. This is the Restream platform, which is different. It's different, and that's what I have. So,
How do you put an avatar?
I don't know. I think it's under settings. You've got a little settings thing at the bottom there. So maybe it's advanced settings. Nope, doesn't look like it. Those are just settings for the stream itself.
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
Doesn't look like you can.
I mean, you'd think you'd have to be able to because it makes one.
Yeah.
Of course, you could be bold and just show your face.
Yeah. I'd love to. I don't know if are we live yet or?
Yes, we are live.
Oh, okay, all right. Whoop-de-doo. Aren't we missing somebody?
Yeah, Marsh was going to be here, but he said he got caught up on a thing, and so he might be late, or he might be on time, or who knows.
Okay. Why am I here?
You're here because they haven't been on forever.
Oh, okay.
I thought, hey, that would be fun to have on. We're talking about marketing.
Oh, okay. Oh, geez. That's like the thing I'm worst at. I know nothing about marketing.
Me too. That's why it was actually Nick's idea, and Nick said, "Hey, I happen to do this," and I said, "Teach me your ways."
Oh, okay.
You know, it'll make a great show because I'm always so together and organized. And so,
yeah. Hopefully, I can present some good ideas or at least help out in some sort of way. I like Matt was saying here. I do work in marketing to some extent. I won't give out my actual job, but it is part of my daily criteria that I have to kind of use marketing in some degree and approach people through certain ways. And I think we can all say, as independent creators, that is a huge thing that we all need and need to use on a daily basis, whether we're crowdfunding, putting ourselves out there. How do you get fans? How do you get people to back you? Like what are the things that you do? So I kind of have some stuff that we could go over and that just anyone on any basic level could use. And maybe learn from a lot of the things that even I failed at.
So the first thing, because we're waiting on Marsh to come on, and I did want to spend some time bugging people about their individual projects. You've never been on before, except in the chat, which means we're a man down to give me snarky comments and to derail me. In fact, the two most snarkiest people in my chats are all on the stream tonight, so I expect to not be goofed up during any of my monologues by your nonsense.
Can't promise anything.
The Twitless is bad. I don't know if you've how many of the shows you've seen, but whenever he comes on, every time I'm saying something serious, he pops off with a mystery science level snark. I just break down laughing, and any pretension that I had of saying anything real just disappears.
Right.
So it's one of his great skills. He also writes a real funny webcomic, but
what's it called?
It's Super Schooled.
It's called I don't know how to market it. That's why no one knows what it is.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you're getting it known right now.
All right.
It actually it's a little weird because if I tried to give you the pitch for Forces of Good and Evil, my long running webcomic that we've been doing since 2006, it would sound exactly like the pitch for Super Schooled, but more serious, just barely.
Well, it's all presentation. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all how you market it.
Both of them are they're about two mismatched friends in superhero and supervillain school who are just trying to figure out how to get through life. But in mine, it's just one part of a larger, complex universe. And for Twitless, it's an excuse to make jokes about things he doesn't like. So I also make jokes about things I don't like, but it's because it's part of a larger integrated universe.
Right.
See,
right.
All that pretentiousness, it's there. But let's talk about Demon Hunter Raven.
Oh wait, there you go. It's in my name.
I was for a second there. I was afraid like it's Demon Hunter, right?
Demon Hunter's in there, yeah, and
okay.
you could base it if you're Christian, then maybe you know about the band Demon Hunter.
See, okay,
kind of cross association there.
Crazy story. I am aware of Demon Hunter. Not a huge fan, but I know of them.
Right.
I don't dislike them. They're just not quite my scene. But in Sydney, Nebraska today, somebody was driving along with Demon Hunter written in like that, the screen marker, the across the front of their car, their windshield.
Nice.
And I was like, the band? And it didn't even click. And that's why, like, when I was starting to say the name of your comic, I'm like, am I just confusing things because I just saw this in Sydney?
Well, that's actually really cool. Yeah, I like the band. I wouldn't say that they're my favorite band, but I mean, the association and everything is definitely done on purpose so that because when you're marketing something, you want there to be some familiarity. Like when I say Batman, you obviously right away you're going to think of who that is and everything. If I were to say Turbo Extravaganza, you know, is there any familiarity with that? Is there any cross reference with that? So, in essence, you know, when you're creating a series or you're creating content or a product, you want to create some sort of brand awareness. And so, yeah, the name Demon Hunter Raven was purposely chosen for those reasons, to have some sort of association or to gravitate towards something like that. So
cool.
So I should have named my comic Chick-fil-A Wendy's School.
There you go. Well, you get sued probably.
Okay. It might be. The other thing about that is like I think Chick-fil-A and Wendy's would have like a brawl in the parking lot after closing. I think
exactly. I'm just trying to cover my bases.
That would be one of those things where it'd just be sort of like there'd be just like there's blood everywhere, mascara just smeared across faces, it'd be a mess. That being said, I actually did write a comic that we're going to be releasing in electronic and paper versions in conjunction with the mini-con that I'm on the committee of in about a month, that me and my buddy Rico did, called Joe Jobs, and it is about a supervillain student who grows up and doesn't want to be a villain. So he just works a series of crappy jobs, and in this particular phase of his life, he ends up being the manager of a fast food joint and getting into a fight in the parking lot with a former classmate of his.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's called Joe Jobs, and this particular one's called The Past Doesn't Die.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, The Past Never Dies.
Now that I think of it, do you guys remember the Judge Dredd comic that was actually the Fast Food Wars?
Kind of.
I think I've heard of it, but I don't really remember it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's probably a good reason for it, because here I could probably, can I share screen? Is that a thing I can do?
I think you can.
Yeah,
my computer is about to die, so I got to plug in really quick.
All right. Well, I pulled an image. What's interesting about this comic is that for the longest time, I actually have an anthologized version of this Judge Dredd storyline, which is the Cursed Earth, and this particular image, which I hope we can pull up, was not published in the United States. It's because of the copyright and trademark issues. Trademark, I think, would be the problems, because they, as you know, when Reese gets back, we can hopefully pull this up. But like, you can clearly see in the image that it's like they have like Ronald McDonald on there and stuff. And see, this is all very relevant to marketing,
right?
Sort of.
I have an accidentally put together show. That's what that is.
Yeah. Those are the best. Spontaneous. You're like a Whose Line Is It episode, Anyways episode and everything.
Yes.
Turn your screen back off. I want to be the center of attention. That was kind of fun.
Hang on. My computer is like weird because I think it was almost out of juice.
Yeah,
that would be bad idea.
You're freezing up there.
Oh my gosh.
show just suddenly stops out of nowhere.
It might. I don't have a. Oh no!
Did you die?
It's hibernating right now. I don't know if
No.
it'll lock me out or if I can join back in. So we're just. Have to.
So, Twitless,
Yep.
tell us more about your story. Let's go there.
Which
While he's
one?
getting stuff going.
Which-
What are you currently working on?
So I've been I've been doing a lot of real life stuff. So I've been keeping up with the Super Schooled updates, and I'm currently working on my first regular superhero comic, self-funded, called The Adventures of Omega Girl. Should be coming up this fall.
Cool. And what's your plan to market that? Like, so you should, as you're creating it, you should start thinking of like how you want to see that be put out.
So I know the platforms I want to do. So I know I'm going to be doing, I think, print on demand through Indie Planet, Drive Through Comics, and I'm going to try to do, I think, Amazon. So I know the platforms I'm going to try to push onto. It's just getting the traction, and it's mostly for me, from what I've noticed, is the fact that, like with most things, it's about the time you put into it.
Yep.
And so to me, it's just been a lack of time that I have to put into putting into that messaging.
So when you're creating a product at the same time, you want to think about how you're going to engage and interact with people. So not only are you selling a product, you're also selling yourself. So you need people to also identify the product with how it's coming out. Because I can't tell you how many times that I've had people be like, "Oh, you're the guy that made Demon Hunter Raven," and have them associate some stuff and get some sort of on a personal level. Because if you're going to be selling something that's even print on demand, generally people are going to buy on an emotional level. So putting that out there is going to be your biggest hurdle. And so you want to create awareness beforehand. Think of like how a movie gets put out. They put out trailers, they put out screenshots, they create awareness, they create hype, and they hire actors that are going to be selling pieces for them. So when you're creating a marketing idea, think of how you want to put it out there, how you want people to even engage with it. And then even just start going into different places like Twitter, Facebook, start getting into these groups, start conversing with people. If you see someone put up a book, get in their DMs and be like, "Hey, your book looks really interesting." Because the power of marketing and selling something isn't necessarily you putting that stuff out there, it's engaging with other people. Part of my job is Matt's having issues. He'll be right back on, guys. His machine is restarting, so me and Twitless will talk for a few minutes, and then Marsha's waiting to get in here. So,
can we let him in? How does that work?
We don't have any. Matt has to do it. He has admin control over things. So
okay, got it.
He says he's restarting his computer. So just hold on a tight second here, Marsh. He'll be right back with you. So when you're presenting a product, people buy on an emotional level. So right now, if you slid into my DMs and you just dropped a message on me like, "Hey, here's my book," I'd be like, I don't care. So a lot of it has to do with engaging other people. Like when you go to a used car dealership and you're looking for a car, already you have an apprehension of like, "Oh, this guy's going to try to sell me and he's going to be over the top and everything." But a good salesperson and even a good marketing person can sell you something without even bringing up the product once. So a lot of it has to do with, personality, presenting. There's a guy that I talk to regularly called Paul, and he's got a book coming out, Bump Back, which everyone should go check out. And he is honestly probably the best that I've noticed in terms of just getting himself out there, presenting his product without actually even talking about it, just by getting up to people and be like, "Dude, your stuff is awesome." Like he's cheerleading on everybody, which then in turn gets people to be like, "Oh, this guy's pretty nice. I should go check him out." And that's actually what happened to me. Is he was complimenting my stuff so much that I was like, okay, I should probably check out. And like, what's this guy all about? So when you start creating curiosity,
Okay, hang on.
Okay.
Are we back?
I think so. Yay! There's the Judge Dredd comic that you couldn't read in America.
Okay, we're here twice, so I'm going to shut this off now.
Yeah.
There we go. We are back. Sorry, everybody. Oh my gosh. So, I don't have the chat on here because I had to reload everything. So if anything's interesting there, I'm really sorry no one can see it. I think it's getting archived on Facebook, Twitter. I don't even know if things are still going on in Facebook. I have no idea. Marsh, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so everybody knows. This is Nick. This is Twitless. This is Twitless's screen, and this is Marsh. Neither Nick nor Marsh have been on my show before, and this has been the worst show ever.
That's just because I'm here.
Actually, honestly, dude, you being here probably saved it. Because my computer needed juice, and I didn't realize it when I was rushing around to get everything set up, and so it went into hibernation as I was plugging it in.
Never fails.
Oh, man, you were in the middle of a really great talk about marketing and building attention and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to make you repeat it in a second.
Sure
but
can.
First, tell us a little bit about Demon Hunter Raven, and then we'll let Marsh. I'll ask Marsh some questions too.
Awesome. Demon Hunter Raven. Imagine Assassin's Creed and Devil May Cry joined together. I'm getting excited, knocking out my earphones here. Imagine the idea of Assassin's Creed meets Devil May Cry, a book about the idea of history and demons getting slayed all over the place.
Okay.
So if you're into like really cool action, but with like a more of a personal touch, history into it, that's what Demon Hunter Raven's about. I'm doing a pre-launch right now, so go over check that out on my page. But it's about hunting demons and all that stuff.
So is it like is it a standalone thing? Is it tied to anything else you're working on? Or is it one of those all consuming things where like every minute you wake up and you're like, I gotta draw dead demons and just go on from there?
It's all consuming right now, with the potential to go further, but it is its own thing at the moment. And the way that I work is if there's enough demand for it, I'll move further and expand into other things. I really like going after like what Tim and Mark are doing with Common America, and if there's not demand for it, there's no reason to make it. And it's a very personal project, and it's something that I'm really excited and I'm putting out there. But it stands on its own merit. I fundraised the first chapter, sent that out, got everything put out there already. Everyone's already gotten it. So we're just moving into the next phase. We're getting chapter 2 out there with a few extra other spicy things in it. So it's going to be about 80 pages worth of content right off the bat with all things combined, and then a few other extras. So that'll be chapter 0, 1, and 2. Altogether, it'll be a spicy 80 pages. And then when we launch, if we hit certain goals, I'll add in another 6 pages and then another short story with 20 pages. And
you were the entire enchilada on that, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what's your background in arts and literature that gave you the great idea to do everything?
To give a real quick backstory, because no one likes long prose novels explanations, is Demon Hunter Raven's a very personal story. It's about some of the tragedies that I dealt with and just me kind of communicating those things through the story and wanting to provide help for maybe people that are going through similar experiences in my cases. So it was a way of me kind of therapeutically going through situations. So I've been doing it since I was little. Art's always been kind of a therapeutic thing for me, and being able to put pen to paper and writing these stories is been a way for me to communicate ideas and other things to people.
That reminds me of Scud. Has anyone ever read Scud?
Oh yeah,
because that guy was totally working through a breakup, and it's about a robot. And he's like, his icon's like a broken heart on the robot. And he gets he starts dating a girl and the heart icon gets healed. And it's like, I see what you're doing. You're working through your personal issues.
The great thing about Scud is it was abstract enough where you don't feel burdened by it. Right. Like there was a webcomic out there for a while, A Bad Guy High, that was about a villain high school. And the guy who went through it, if you read the comment section and on his uploads, he had some hard things he went through, And so parts of the story were definitely his like catharsis. But if you didn't read that stuff, like you just got action and adventure. Like, I mean, it was obscure enough from his life that it's just the same teen drama stuff with the comic superhero edge that obviously I like, but it was oblique enough from his experience where it wasn't like you're like, oh, okay, Tom King, we get it, your dad.
No, so now I have to know, Nick. So like, what are these crazy personal issues? Unburden yourself in public.
Yeah,
I am personally invested in your story, and you said you had to sell yourself and sell your story. So I have you pinned by your own principles.
Okay, so I come from somewhat of an abusive background. My upbringing was rough, and so for me to go into comics, go into superheroes was very relieving. It gave me an escape to go through, and childhood was just rough, and so I won't go into huge details here and bore people, but I had a falling out with some people, issues with my parents, and it led me to Christ, and basically this story is very much through a Christian aspect. It deals a lot with depression. I kind of use The Crow. James O'Barr's The Crow as kind of a background measure of, like, at that time he was dealing with an emotional response of losing his girlfriend, and poured everything into the idea of The Crow and the Eric losing his girlfriend and going into those same exact things. And that's very much the same thing for me of my parents' divorce, losing people very dear and kind to me, and just the emotional outlets that you go through, just the rockiness of life that's affected me as a 30-year-old male nowadays, that maybe something that happened when I was 5 years old shouldn't affect me now, but it still does to some extent. Things that happened with me and my dad and me with my mom, and learning how to reconcile those feelings and even reconcile with those people as Christ taught redemption and forgiveness. Those are some things that I've had to really go through and learn. I gave my life to the Lord back in 2009 and became a full-fledged Christian. And this story has really been me acknowledging how I've gone through those hurdles. But no one wants to read a personal biography. We want a story that we can ourselves be transformed through and take a journey with that character. So it's not like step by step. Each thing is exactly pinpointed that way. So again, like referencing The Crow.
Yeah. I wouldn't say nobody wants to. I think it's got to be done really, really well. And I haven't read a whole lot, especially in comics, that are that way, that are just spot on with that. One exception that I can think of off my head, and it's not something I read, it was a review I saw that Number One Marmaduke fan did of I think it's American-born Chinese.
Yeah.
And he just the way he was describing it, I want to find it, but not so much that I'm going to take the time to go look for it.
Right.
Yeah, I own that one. See, the thing that's interesting about it, and I Nick, I feel you there, and I actually have some shared experiences, especially with the divorced, ramifications, and how you, my father abandoned my family like 20 years ago, so I've not seen hair or hide of him since. But so yeah, I definitely identify with that, and I think it's interesting because there's an entire genre of memoir comics, but they're decidedly unchristian, and most of them are basically how I ditched Christianity, and they're heralded and given awards all the time. So I think it's kind of sad how sometimes we think that, I have a salvation story, and it's like no one wants to hear that, and it's like, why is it though that we need to hear yet one more sexual awakening of somebody who ditches church? Yeah. Like the amount of times I've read that in memoir. And I did an article on it, and it's just, it's basically, you can spell out. It's so funny because they
I know you're 100% right, but just the way you're just like these blanket naked juxtapositions. I ditched church and had a sexual awakening, at the same time.
No, but that's what they are. That's the one called Blankets. It's like this long.
Oh.
No,
that's what that is. That's what that is. Yeah, it's an entire genre. I call it how I left my parents' religion behind and had sex. Yeah. And it's an entire series of tropes, and you can look at it in a Alison Bechdel's Fun Home. I'm going to talk about some real fun comics now. We're talking about Alison Bechdel, but there's this whole swath of comics, and it's all about either wallowing in your own misery, Some of them are kind of decent. Ellen Forney wrote one called Marbles. It's about her dealing with her mental issues, which is pretty good. But I just think it's interesting that it's like, why is it that Christians aren't, like, hey, I could tell my salvation story in a comic, and it's like, no one wants to hear that. And I'm like, yeah, and everyone wants to see yet another rendering in 2,000 pages of.
First off, let's think about who our audience is. If you were right now to hear me go, I want to tell you about my salvation story, that's probably going to fall on a lot of deaf ears, because immediately people are going to associate that with preachiness. And immediately when we think of preachiness, we go, no, thank you. So in reality, it's your wording. Okay.
Well, and I think part of it comes to, I mean, there are stories, and actually, one side note, Critical Blast mentions Cross the Switchblade is a great salvation comic. Also, another one is the one that's based on the Chuck Swindoll novel, and I can't remember the name of it right now. It's skipped in my head. Not novel, his memoir. I can't remember right now, but both of those are excellent. Salvation comics specifically. But I think part of it has to do is it comes to like knowing your audience, right? Yeah. And like your average superhero audience is either, and this is not a dig on superheroes because they're my favorite genre, right? But your average superhero audience is not keyed in to what they're actually consuming enough to understand what it is, right? So if you're just like, if you lay it on the line, what's really talking about, they're going to be like, well, we're not here for your religion. We're not here for your politics. And it's like, everything is religion and politics. Stop being a baby. You can disagree with somebody's opinions, but it's still religion and or politics, because that's what we are as human beings, as spiritual creatures. It's inextricable from that. But you don't have to be on the nose, and you don't have to be like lame about it.
Persepolis is also critically acclaimed, and that one's got informed by the Islamic tradition as well. Like I said, I think it's just become this meme that like if you're a Christian, you just can't talk about your faith or else you're cringy.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely true. As if talking about your faith when you're not, I mean, faith is sort of cringy in a lot of ways. And that's one of the things that, because it's so personal, right? Mm-hmm. It comes back to what Alfred Hitchcock said. Never show a kiss, never show a prayer on film, because what's happening you can't see.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think that's a 1-to-1 ratio on that, but that's definitely a trueness, right?
Hey, I loved The Illuminator.
I also love The Illuminator. I don't even think those are necessarily bad stories. They were somewhat unrefined, but they were a lot of fun. And if you can poke a little fun at yourself, it's amazing. Just like that, Al Hartley's Archie comics, which were super on the nose, but they weren't. Maybe it's just growing up in the church, I didn't even think they were that kind of cringy, that cringy about it, because it was just people talking to their friends, right? It wasn't. I mean, like one of the books that I really liked. Actually, hang on just a second here. 1 second, I'm gonna kill my screen.
I have to apologize. I completely derailed the conversation. I mean, I'm not sorry about it, but that's just what I do. But at one point we should probably let Nick talk about marketing again.
We will.
Okay.
I have a plan. I'm watching the clock. So this right here is Heaven Forbid by my friend Dan Connor. It was on the web for a long time, and it is a Christian punk rock comic. And it's kind of like Scott Pilgrim, but not, right? But wholesome. And it talks about faith issues. It talks about Christianity. It talks about, being a Christian in a world that doesn't like you. It has witnessing in it. And it's available online. You can buy it. I think the web comic version has been taken down, if I recall correctly. But one of the things about it is that the conversations are just like, your friends like, why do you bother going to church? Well, let me tell you, that's the kind of conversations that they're in there. They're not like, just somebody standing up in a street corner and saying, don't you know that sin sends you to hell?
See, I want to go on another limb. I really want to, this is
not that there's not a place for that, but
Critical
really
Blast,
hard to put that in a comic.
Critical Blast is bringing this up that Jack Chick comics can be read as kind of cringy, but I would say that if you want to read it semi-ironically, Jack Chick comics are the best horror comics that beat out EC in so many ways because they end with people burning in hell. And it's like, if you want a Tales from the Crypt, it's basically Tales from the Unrepentant Sinner. Those comics scared the crap out of me almost more than anything else, and they haunted me for years. So like, he had a talent. So I think it's,
that's no different than a preacher that's just simply on the message of like, you're going to hell no matter what, like, the condemnation message. So I think it's all, again, presentation, how you're putting it out there.
Well, and I mean, and it's, to bring this into a faith realm, right? When Paul said, I become all things to all men that by God's grace I may win a few, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about, is what is the audience? I mean, what is the thing that particular person needs?
Right.
And
not even to go further, but it's that even Jesus, when he had tons of followers, he knew many were going to leave him. That many were not going to stay
away. I mean, you can't have eternal life unless you eat my flesh. And people are like, "Whoa, that's too weird. I'm out of here." And that was intentional, because you got to take it seriously. I would like to point out Jack Chick was unrelenting with the Catholic Church. That is true. That's if there's one thing that from Jack Chick's career that I think that really hurts his effect is that his huge divisiveness over things that I get doctrinal differences. I got into a prolonged conversation with Matt Krotz last night about it, but
do you remember the Dungeons and Dragons one he did?
The what? Dungeons and Dragons?
Did he do a Dungeons and Dragons one?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, those are the best.
Yeah. I'm not sure you could call it the best, but okay. I'm
going to do a Jack Chick stream at some point, just to I'm going to dig out a bunch of them.
No, I think that's reasonable. And I think that so this is a total side note, but it's not total side note, but the Jack Chick thing. I know we're way off topic. Today, on Twitter, I was in a conversation with Brian Edward Hill about history, of all things. And not to name drop, because it's not like we're friends. We just had a Twitter conversation. But about how American history, people either want to say everything was horrible and evil or everything was sunshine and roses, when life and humanity are way more complicated than that. And we need to be grown up enough to recognize that society is messy, and that doesn't mean we have to dwell on it.
You could go into several layers on what that whole entire topic that was brought up about. Yeah,
and I'm not saying right or wrong, but I mean, that statement in itself, we have to acknowledge that in every aspect of our life, that we're just, human beings are messy, psychologically and emotionally.
It's like the same side of a coin. One person's going to see this side of the coin, and another person's going to see this side of the coin. They're the same coin. We're just seeing two different sides of it. And our point of view and our perspective is going to be totally different. Yes, those events did happen, but, are the ramifications still felt? Are we ignoring many things? Okay, we could dive trade into that pretty easily into so many different topics. But.
Well, and people have been talking about, not overtly. It's not like I have a massive fans that are just like, do another, but people have been suggesting about doing another Comics and Christianity stream.
I like those.
So maybe we'll have to do one coming up here in October and make it extra spooky.
All Hallows Eve Christian.
Everybody gets dressed up as a different denomination, and we reenact the Reformation.
The Reformation. Oh, okay,
Martin Luther. I want to nail the 99 Theses to the wall.
Doug Ernst will love that one. Can we do the Diet of Worms?
Do a whole reenactment.
But talking about ideas, of course the show is going off track. Well, yeah, there we go. That's what I do. So anyway, Demon Hunter Raven, personal story, a little bit cathartic, a little bit narrative. And I actually think that that's super important, because I believe one of the ways we understand truth is by relating it to parallel truths. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to the idea that, that because truth is resident and home outside of our time, outside of our time domain, outside of our material existence, the only way we can understand it is by relating it to other things.
Sorry, critical glass just crap me up.
It's his job to mess the screen. He's on fire. Anyway, so funny. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, I think that it's so. One of the reasons I love hero stories is because that they really speak to these kind of immortal truths, right?
Right.
These kind of big picture issues, and whether it's superheroes or Arthurian myth or whatever, they help us to understand things about ourselves that we can't really put into words in a way that is so chewable. I don't know how.
And they're universal as well.
Yeah. So anyway, Marsh, you have been drawing all kinds of stuff for all kinds of people. And I got to say, I'm not trying to pick favorites, but in Legend of the Lone Wolf, your story is one of my favorites.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You guys had you and Doug just really had a good chemistry in that story. I love your monster designs. Your line work was super clean. I loved it.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I kind of think a lot of my stuff is a mess, but I really appreciate that. Honestly, that is probably my best work to date. So that's nice to hear. And yeah, Doug is great to work with. He's it's interesting because if you're an artist, you know the woes of being an artist and how hard it is. And to work with a writer who's not, an artist, he's just a writer. And to have that kind of freedom or whatever is pretty cool.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at Marshall.
Rude over your talk there.
Oh, that's right. Something funny happened. I didn't see it though.
Yeah.
So I'll just acknowledge that Doug TeNapel is here right now.
Yeah, Doug TeNapel is here, and he's cracking wise.
Doug.
Sup, Doug?
By the way, Doug, look what came today.
Oh, I can't wait to get mine.
Yeah, I was going to start the stream with this, but then I had all kinds of technical problems and was late, so I just ran with it. But yeah, this came today.
Sweet.
So I'm very anxious to open it up, but apparently I have to have a show first. So
I had Doug on a couple weeks ago. It was awesome.
Yeah, I keep meaning to go back and watch it, but I've been too busy. That's just the way it goes, though. But yeah, so yeah, I just now how long have you been doing comics?
Oh man, I've been wanting to do comics for a long time. Since I was in high school, so that would be 20 or so years ago, but I finally made my first mini comic. I don't know now. At this point, maybe it's like 8 or 10 years ago, but to me that seemed like I don't know, it wasn't 8, it was more like 5 to 8 years, and it's like it was way too long is the point. Like I wanted to make comics when I was a kid, and it took me forever to finally make a mini comic, but now I'm just all in. I like this is what I want to do, and I love it. Well, it's really hard, but I can't get away from it, so I'm forced to love it. So but it's great though so far. Trying to build,
Well, and I think so. I wanted to start making comics probably 1991, right when I first got into reading them. And I was reading the letter columns, Denny O'Neil's Batman stuff, and I just devour those things. And I said, "This is it. This is what I want to do."
Yeah, I probably wasn't too far after. Around the Image days, somewhere around then is when I was like, "This is what I want to do."
And I never did get the drawing chops, but I've been actually writing comics for. Writing comics that other people have seen for 15 years.
That's awesome. That's
doing it on the web at forcesofgoodandevil.net. I'm going to guess that Neo is he's giving me the thumbs up for 91. I'm going to guess that's the year you were born, and you're saying that just to make me feel old. So, but yeah, but yeah, just one of those things where the ideas of these heroes and the myths and that they allow us, and one of the things I love about superhero comics is that that it's just this exaggeration of all of this, but they allow us to learn and to understand what it takes to be tough, right? So, and I mean, and what it means to like take responsibilities that we have and just roll with them, just run with them. And
That's a lesson that our world needs to hear.
yeah, well, it's so weird to me to like, even back 2006, that they had that growing like surge in the comics community about people that were like mad about being excluded from stuff, and I'm like, or that whole SJW social justice idea, and it's just like, well, we're reading every month about heroes. It's supposed to inspire you to be a hero. You're supposed to have resilience and toughness, and Superman never quits, Batman never quits, Spider-Man never quits, Daredevil can't even see, and he never quits.
This is what happens when you guys were talking about the Christian stuff. Like, this is what happens when you let the devil get a little toe in, and then he takes his whole thing. He takes the whole thing.
Well, and actually, I think that's in terms of our culture. I think that's a big factor where believers and even serious thinkers kind of said pop culture, oh, that's not worth our time. We're gonna have our think tanks, and we're gonna have our big groups. We're gonna sit around our tables at our fancy dinners and talk about how cool our principles are, instead of actually being able to serve them up and feed them to the populace.
We've gotten lazy in that area, though, too. To be on point, we've allowed a lot of things to, like you were saying, Marsh, to get in there and just get a toe in there, and kind of just cause divide and.
All right. Doug's been lighting a fire under me, so I gotta.
Yeah.
If he feels like that, that makes me feel a lot better. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think in terms of like, just doing it is so important.
Right.
And just muscling in. And even if it's not perfect, it's better than not doing it. If we believe that what we're doing really has the value and the weight and that gravitas, that it matters. Right.
Hold on. Doug's impugning my honor.
Yeah.
I need to defend myself. Doug, if you're not careful, I'm going to get you canceled for the 87th time this month. What are you going to do then, huh? What are you going to do when you're canceled?
I think you'll be fine.
I think canceled has been canceled by now at this point.
Has he canceled his uncanceling? I'm not sure where we're at in this whole entire timeline anymore.
I think that what we're going to see is a spite of this up until about November 3rd.
Right.
I think at that point, it may lose all power. Maybe. It all depends on what happens on the 3rd or the 6th.
The joke I was going to make was that Doug's the indie version of canceled. He was canceled before it was cool. They've been canceling him since what, the 90s?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. And it's really weird to me how like every 6 months there's just this whole group of people that never heard about Doug's opinions.
They rediscover him.
Do you mean the guy that was directing VeggieTales is a Christian? How dare he? Do you mean he takes the Bible seriously? How dare he? Okay.
Yeah, I saw a comment I saw a comment yesterday on a video. I was in the chat and somebody was calling Doug like fake or something, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm just like, how they said that he's fake because he waited until he made a lot of money before he started telling what he really thought about stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. Like,
oh my goodness!
Anyone that sees Doug stuff for any amount of time knows that he's been doing this way longer than what people are seeing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just like he had some successes early, and right place, right time, right product, right amount of being a giant and standing up above the crowd.
Yeah.
Well, he's just been doing it longer because he's old.
That's also true. But you can't help being old. Let me tell you, personal experience. You can't help. You try. You keep the wallet chain. You listen to new music. It doesn't matter. when your kids ask if they can pick you up from the office so they can borrow the car, you're old. It just happens that way.
Hey, if I'm kicking ass like he is with making comics at that age, I'll be happy to be old.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
But I think that I was on. If you go to idealcomics.net, you can look down the list, and I actually wrote an article, a review of Bad Island that talks about how I discovered who Doug was and found out that I'd been a fan of his for years without realizing it. And it's fun. It was fun. But yeah, that's, I think, a big part of it is that as creatives, we have to, own that drive. And
That's pretty funny.
He does it. We don't even have to do it. He does it for us.
oh, Doug, I gotta have you on again, but I have a scheme, so I'll email you about it later. So anyhow, so what are you working on right now, Marsh?
Oh, right now, I'm working on a lot of things. I'm working on a project called Calamity Jane, Heroine of the Astral Planes. It's kind of a comedic look of the historical, sort of historical Calamity Jane, and she gets abducted by aliens, and then fun ensues. There's that. I'm working on writing a comic called Otis, which very loosely is inspired by the Homer's The Odyssey and a bunch of other things. Kind of a modernization of it. And then drawing wise, I'm working on a comic called Big Wrath. And so those other two I'm writing. This one I'm doing the penciling, and then Peter Palmiotti's going to do the inking for it. So, and I also wrote it. So, yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully, one of those becomes an Indiegogo in the early next year.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's exciting stuff. So, I have, of course, I've been doing webcomics for a long time. We've had some in print, including Zing Comics #1, which is our first anthology. This is the last issue of the last copy of the first printing that we got done in like 2007.
Zing.
And it's just still floating around my house. This first printing was missing some pages, so that's part of why I still have it. Yeah, there was just like the middle 4 pages was missing from some of the first batch. But anyway, but yeah, we've been doing that. I've got we just finished up the most recent chapter of Forces, which is the 29th story in that.
It's a Ren Fair one, right?
Yeah, Panic at the Ren Fair. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's on hiatus while we work on some of the stuff. I'm getting some mini comics ready to go for the Minicon. I've got Joe Jobs that I'm just like 1 page away from being able to send that to the printer. I'm working with some other guys to kind of bring their properties into our universe. My friend Chris Lore does a zombie comic called Z-Bites, and parts of the first issue are available online. And you can check on our thing. Fly Fox Pros, Peter the Problematic Person has joined the universe, and so that's been fun to watch happen. But I'm not really involved other than advisory on our giant lore, that kind of stuff. And I've got some other projects we're hopefully getting in print next year, so we'll see how that works on that. But yeah, so we came at Nick's suggestion to talk about although before we get onto that, Calvary Collective says, rumor says if Demon Hunter Raven is fully funded in the first 24 hours, all the bad parts of 2020 will be instantly vanished.
I make no promises, but it's possible. It's possible. I am actually doing a day one special for anyone that backs right away. There is a limited opportunity to get special deals on anything that comes up right away on the day one. So if you're following along and you sign up that day one, there'll be special prices. Then after that day, they are gone. And so they're already set up for the people that are on my newsletter and the people that are already notified on the pre-launch. But for anyone that wants to get some good deals and get some cheap books on good discount right away, that day one is going to be the most important. And then after that,
and you're launching on Tuesday or Wednesday next week?
Tuesday, yep, 3:00 Central Time, because I'm up on the Midwest. So
cool.
I'm stuck right in between where the most riots have been happening across the news.
Oh, jeez.
Like when it first happened, that was like a good 2-hour drive away from me, and then the latest one that happened with the shooting and everything, that was like 3 hours away from me. So I was like,
really? So that actually
I got a little tense.
That actually puts you within like spitting distance of our fictional city of rural Wisconsin where Forces takes place.
Yeah. You told me last time. It's where did you say it was again last time?
It's somewhere along Highway 66.
Yeah, I'm not too far from there.
Yeah.
I won't give exact locations because I've got people that hate me. So,
we weren't ever going to give the town a name, but I was talking to my kids about it. I had written up a bio for one of our characters, and my son was like, "Is rural the name of the town?" Because I had accidentally hit a keystroke for comma, and I was like, "It is now."
There's so many unpopulated areas around here where it just says like like whatever it is, it doesn't have a population on the sign, so it's just like, oh, okay, I guess 3 people live there. There's actually one town where I think there's only 3 people that live there.
Yeah.
And
well, we live. I'm out western Nebraska in Scotts Bluff, and we wanted, when Chris and I we were both living here at the time, and we wanted to set the place somewhere that would have because we wanted a chance to like poke fun at and also exalt like the rural city life. And so we wanted someplace that would be unpopulated, but also not be Scotts Bluff. So we weren't just like riffing on our town, that it would be something that we could like, poke fun at and like, but not necessarily be too close to home, because we weren't trying to write ourselves into the story. And so we picked Wisconsin because we're both big Mike Nelson fans. And so we can get some mileage out of Wisconsin. Yeah.
And it's beautiful over here. I mean, you've got some great scenery and everything. I mean, a lot of people associate with cheese and drunks, and that's not too untrue. I mean, that is heavily the population, but I mean,
that would be like saying Nebraskans don't actually like football. Of course,
right.
They also really like corn. And if you're marketing a vodka to Nebraskaners, it better be a corn vodka. I'm telling you, I don't know why they care, but that's actually a selling point here.
Sean, it's not true. I'm not from Wisconsin. I actually don't like cheese. I'm from Minnesota, so I'm a trader living in a foreign land right now. And I only came over because my wife is from Wisconsin, and I didn't want to move back because that takes effort, and I'm kind of lazy at heart, to be honest.
I need to ask a very important question of Nick. All right, so brace yourself. Is that a shelf of jellies or jams behind you?
I'm in my basement. Yes, it's. I have 5 kids, and we're putting them to bed right now, so this is the quietest area for me to sneak to. So,
no, I'm genuinely curious. Like, what kind of preserves do you have?
Those are sauces for spaghetti, actually. Those aren't jams.
Okay.
It's just meat sauce. Yeah,
See,
that sounds wrong when I say that. So.
This is why people come to the Mattriarchy. It's for the discussion of what's in people's basements.
This is not the topic you told me we were talking about.
So I can feel cool. I'm also in my basement, and these books that look so impressive are my children's books from when they were small. So I've got
my vast library of Dr. Seuss.
I thought it was like some
the place
manga.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
there we go. There's some Roald Dahl there, though. That's classic. Yeah. Now we've kind of gone round and round and round. Let's talk marketing. So Nick, all the stuff that you said before when my computer died, let's hear it again.
Okay. So let's start with the basic level here. Every one of us in the independent level wants to sell our product. And you could probably go onto YouTube and look at all these guys of like how to make money, like these marketing gurus, these click funnel guys. And the real question is, these guys are selling you a product already, and you're already invested in that idea. So first off, business is about solving a problem. So number one, your problem you're solving is people want to be entertained. Number two, what are you answering? What are you giving them? So that already now you need to narrow it down to what is that market area. So Matt, you are in the web area. You want to find people that are in the web business or that are looking to read web comics. And Twitless, you want to go print demand. You want to sell an actual physical product. Those are going to be two different people that you're looking for. And there might be, no, don't get me wrong, there might be some crossing there where people like go back and forth. Like I'm very much in that realm where like I want to do web and I read physical. Like I'm all across the board. But that's not always what you're going to see. So number one is you need to figure out the problem you're going to solve, and then you got to figure out how you're going to answer that. So again, we're all within the realm of comics. We're providing an entertainment service. So now we're all within the same realm here. And number two is you got to have a good product. Look at your stuff and ask yourself, okay, is this good enough to put out there? Be your own quality control manager. Because if you're going to market something, would you yourself buy that product? And I can honestly say the first few things I was putting out, I was definitely not a fan of my own stuff, and I wouldn't buy it now. So be honest. Are you putting out a product that is worthy of selling? And then number three is networking, gaining an audience and a following. I think we're all here to understand, how do you gain an audience? How do you get fans? And like I was telling Twitless earlier, I want to bring up the Calvary Collective. He's commenting right now, and his name is Paul, and he's got a book called Bump Back, and it looks amazing. You guys all need to go check that out. I posted on my page. Go look that up. It's an amazing book. So anyways, Paul is a great example of someone that goes around and he networks as a fan and gets people to notice him by just simply being a complimentary, positive person that at some point you're going to turn around and be like, this guy's way too nice. I gotta go check out what his stuff is. And that's what happened to me is I ended up looking at his stuff. I was like, holy crap, his stuff's really good. And we started communicating, and it just from there on, we started networking like, yo, dude, your stuff's good too. And now we just promote each other's stuff, and we're constantly going back and forth. And so you create audience by being real, by being open and honest with people. So a lot of times, like right now, just being upfront with people, having a face, putting a face to a name is a big part of it. Now, if I were to come in right now and start selling you guys on Demon Hunter Raven, so what? Who cares? You got to create an emotional response with people. The business that I work in is a very much a cold approach in terms of marketing, where you're just dropping in on people and you've got 30 seconds to sell them on something. It's not telemarketing, so don't worry, I'm not one of those jerks. But it's a small part of the actual stuff. So in general, my job requires me to make quick approaches, and you get turned away real quickly. But within those few seconds, you've got to narrow down. Okay, what's this person about? Is there something that I can connect with this person? So a lot of creators forget to connect with their audience, the people that they want to sell to. First off, too many of us are we're too focused on selling. We're too focused on selling, but we're forgetting all the steps beforehand of we have to court these people. Think of it in terms of a relationship. When you ask someone out to go out with you, what are you basing that off of? What value are you bringing into the thing? So right now, think about the value you bring. Okay, one of my things is drawing, and the value I can provide sometimes is I can draw things for people. So if you already can draw and you have the ability to do that, guess what? You've got value that you can provide to people that not a lot of other people can. Figure out how you can start bringing that in. So we can all think of people like Jim Lee, countless artists they're just amazing and they're beyond words, and they sell that product all just beyond that ability. But obviously we're not all Jim Lee. We're not all those people. So we have to figure out, how does this value extend past ourselves? How can I provide a service where I'm answering and solving a problem? So in that, once you figure out what the problem you're solving, like for me, drawing, and providing entertainment and just bringing out that sort of stuff. So kind of think of in terms of that. I don't know about you, but when someone comes into my DMs and just drops a link for a book, I could care less. I'm not going to support you. But if Paul or one of you guys or somebody just be like, hey, have you checked out my book lately? I would give it more of an opportunity to look at, because I know you have value, and I've gotten to know you a little bit. Even like right now, I'll probably check out more of your guys' stuff than I would anybody else's, because now we have more familiarity.
So hold on. So if I'm supposed to sell myself, why am I buying them dinner? Something about this isn't adding up.
Well, you're too far ahead, actually.
Oh, okay.
You need to start on the basis of, think of friendship. You're getting to know each other. You're interacting. Think of common traits. Okay. You guys are all into superheroes, so we could all start a discussion on superheroes. And maybe you want to say like, "Hey, man, maybe we should go to the movie theater. This is a really good movie." And you're going to move it beyond that point.
So groom them.
Groom them.
I think I got it. I have learned something today.
I think actually to make a really good example of this, right? You guys have all read Doug Ernst's Soul Finder?
I need to. I caught on to that way after. Yeah.
Am I the only one who has? Okay. Well then,
yes, you are.
I'm going to tell my story then, and it won't make sense to anyone who hasn't seen it entirely. When Doug was first announced the book, it was sold. I knew it was going to be amazing, and it is. It's really, really good. And the reason I knew it was going to be really, really good is because I'd been listening to Doug break down stories to talk about what works and what doesn't, and why it works. Talking about referencing the works of of C.S. Lewis and bringing in the philosophy behind storytelling and behind why he thought the heroes were important. And I was like, yeah, that dude can put a sentence together, and he gets it. Like, he gets it. Like, I knew it was going to be amazing. And so I had him on my show last summer, 2 summers ago, however you count it. And after we wrapped up, I was like, dude, I'm so excited. Soul Finder is going to be amazing. And he's just like, oh, I hope so. Oh, he was so nervous. I was like, dude, it's going to be good. Calm down. And he's like, I don't know. Everyone thinks it's going to be great, and I don't know.
Well, I want to point out something there. You became absorbed with that product because it created an emotional response for you.
Yeah.
Because he was creating demand for it.
And it wasn't just that it was emotional, right? I had the emotional investment because, I understood the concept behind it, right?
Right.
And not the book itself, but about the mechanics of how it worked. I knew that Doug understood hero stories. He understood the journey. He understood the struggle. He can't be easy.
Right.
That's one thing that I want to go back to something way up the way that Neostar had said earlier, is that it seems like a lot of modern comic writers treat superheroes like popularity contests. Mm-hmm. Like, superheroes are cool and everyone loves them, so I'm going to write the most popular one. Haha. Instead of realizing that it's not about popularity, it's about struggle and suffering. Like, that's what it really comes to, right? And like the beauty of Captain America is, like, Captain America believes in, the picket fence and the chicken in the pot and the wife in the kitchen. And I don't mean that like in a necessarily a regressive sort of way, but he believes in the normal American life.
Yep. I don't know. Sounds racist to me.
Yeah, that's fine. You're wrong, but you can say it. But with it, one of the things you have is that he forbids himself from that life because he believes in that life, right?
Right.
Yeah, he will never have the picket fence and the 2.5 kids because he's too busy saving the day for the schmuck in Nebraska with the picket wife and the 2 kids.
Yep.
And other states, though, sorry, you're out of luck.
He's here for Nebraska. You other 49 states can go, and
you're sorry, but no,
that's why there's only one star on the shield.
That is true.
There's only one state.
Only one state matters. But no, I think that's an important thing with those dynamics. But yeah, right. Tyler in the chat says you got to sell 2 things: the creator and the concept.
Absolutely.
And I think that's true. I would say I think there's a caveat to that, though, because it's not about. I don't think it's necessarily about selling the creator as a person. I think it's about selling the creator as a commodity. You know what I mean? There's somebody who's going to actually present and actually finish the material. I think
that's where it's different with crowdfunding. Is then a lot of people are backing the person and they want to support that person, and sometimes they're not even actually supporting the book. They want to support that creator. Think about like comic runs. Sometimes someone could be on Batman, and then they'll jump off and they'll go to a different thing, and those people will follow them, like Scott Snyder. You know, he's got a fan base. People will follow him to different titles because he's proven to be a good writer. So people will follow that writer. So a lot of times they've created trust because they've provided a product and they're creating quality. But for crowdfunding, it's a little bit different because, you know, you're not on a shelf, you know, with a bunch of other things for you to determine. You're putting yourself out there first and foremost, and you got to resonate with people. I'm sure there's a ton of people we would look at and we would never back them because maybe they've offended us.
I think you know, maybe it's the exception that proves the rule. I don't know, but you look at like Brian
Polito.
Thank you, brain. Like Brian Polito doesn't stream. He doesn't, you know, do that.
He's an exception to the rule. Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of it is because he already had that before, right? So because people knew Lady Death, people knew Polito's been grinding it since the 90s, probably since the 80s actually.
Right.
And that's all about that. And the other thing is, I think the Polito story is remarkable. In order to make it, Polito sold Lady Death. Then he bought it back.
Yeah.
Never happens. That's the kind of underdog story that makes you say, you know, I don't need more boobs in my life, but I'll get them.
I could speak a little bit to that because some of that is old money, new money. I had a conversation with a what was she in? She did professional writing. I'm trying to remember if it was marketing or another type. And she basically said that back in her day, she could just email her resume back when email first started to a company and get an interview. And she said that is not the reality of today.
No.
So some of it is some people have been very fortunate who have careers from the 90s and so on, and that kind of establishment has given them. Like I say, it's going to be sort of old money, whereas the new money, the people who come up today have to kind of do a different system in order to get noticed. So,
we got to work harder for it.
Well, and I think part of it too is that technology has been such a leveler, right?
Yep.
As a whole, we can reach out. I mean, you know, come on. I mean, I'm some schmuck in a basement in Nebraska, and I've had Doug TeNapel on my show. I think that because it's been such a leveler of things, that suddenly it's not just, you know, if you've already fought your way up to the spotlight, people know you. Well, no, anybody can fight their way up, but some people are already in the spotlight.
Right.
You get somebody like Ethan Van Sciver. I mean, if you bought comics, you knew the name, right? And even before he started whatever, I mean, even if you'd never read a Van Sciver book, you knew the name.
Right.
And I think that's one of those things that's a factor. But you know, who read a Doug Garrett book 3 years ago, right?
Right.
But, yeah. Conception, the concepts that Doug deals with are just amazing, though.
Right. And when you're positive with other people and you're at the forefront with your creations, like we're all talking about Brian Polito just a moment ago, and we associated him with Lady Death. I mean, so there's two cross associations there, and both of us can say, hey, you know, he's a great guy. He provides great value and entertainment and positive things, and he's helped out a lot of people. The other person you mentioned, which I don't want to disparage his name because I don't believe in bad-mouthing people, hasn't really resonated in that same way, but yet they're on two different sides of the spectrum of, like, you know, one goes for that clickbait rage, like, oh, you know, SJWs, and the other guy's just like, I made a boob book. You want it?
So, there also is death.
A great combination.
sex sells, apparently. Who knew?
Yeah.
Go on Kickstarter, and it's like, those are the big money makers. That sounds wrong when I say that.
Those are the big money makers.
So, like, semi-embarrassing story. I was checking out Kickstarter yesterday because I put some money down for Common America because I'm so excited.
Same here.
The first one was so good. Anyway, and I was just looking at what I had, and okay, so like Kickstarter always makes me a little nervous because that money comes out later.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, we got a budget for it, so I paid Doug in this amount of time because I'm getting that Earthworm Jim, and then I'm paying Tim at this amount of time, and okay, so I'll make sure it fits in with my paychecks, right? And so then I noticed that one of the things that suggestively sold me was a book called Titania.
Yeah.
I have a hero called Titania. It's Jagged Princess's mother. She's the guidance counselor at the Jack Cole Academy of Superheroics. The book on Kickstarter, Titania, is not my character.
Nope.
at all. It's at least twice the boob and half the clothes.
And very raunchy too. Yeah, that showed up on my search results yesterday too, and I was like, "Oh, is that the Marvel character?" And I took that. I was like, "That's not the Marvel character. No."
I just clicked it because it's just like, well, that's I like that name. It's just
I don't know, guys. I accidentally searched this and clicked on it. I don't know if I'm buying that.
Okay. You can say that all you want. That's fine.
You'll never get the true answer out of me.
So, but yeah, I think that that the idea of proving yourself, and this is one of the other things too that, looking back at the idea of selling the artist as well as and the creators as well as the property. When you look at 2019, Mark and Tim were basically radio silent for 2019.
Yeah,
they just kept making books, and then that calendar clicked over, and their name was on everybody's mouths because they showed up again. They're like, oh, by the way, those books that you bought that nobody told anybody about, yeah, that's us, and we're doing 4 more this year. So.
But they had some recognition beforehand, like Tim has been able to get his name out before that. He was able to garner a lot of attention, and he knew how to navigate a lot of those areas. I mean,
and both of them were known people in 18, but then things that shall not be mentioned in this particular stream, I've talked about on the show before. See, if you guys in the chat are really interested to know what I'm talking about, you can watch my videos. They're usually only about 2 hours a piece, so
and they're good to listen to while you're drawing or working. Get your work done. That's what I do normally.
There's a lot of mindless chatter, so it's good background noise. My point though is that like with the silence, the lack of public face that they both had. They kept working on stuff. They kept grinding on stuff. They kept producing quality products on stuff. So when Tim stuck his head out of his little rabbit hole, everybody knew who it was.
I get your joke. I get it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I got the joke. I got that reference. I understood it. This is your fault. You invited me. I regret nothing.
I regret nothing either, but I just lose track of what I was talking about. So I'm just going to throw the ball to you, Nick.
I have a question. This is important. So you mentioned selling your personality. What happens if you're disabled in this department?
Disabled personality?
Are you trying to speak from personal experience?
No, what do you do if you don't have one?
I'm going to be honest. I think it takes. Obviously, we're not all extroverts. I think as an artist in any sort of way, we're more introverts. We want to do our work, or that's something even I struggle with. And a lot of times, it's learning how to put yourself out there. You have to be okay to just simply have like a moment. You got to think in a marketing box. You got to go, okay, I have to put myself out there. How do I want to be seen? And so you might say you don't have a personality, and I'm going to tell you right up front, you probably do. It just might be hidden under a bunch of other stuff. But what you say might not be a personality, it might be something entertaining to someone else. So there is no right or wrong in that area.
Well, one of my first girlfriends that I ever had told me I had no personality, and I don't know, I'm doing pretty good on YouTube, so.
Well, and so speaking of,
if I may, Marsh, I think part of that ties directly into what I was about to say. I don't think you don't have a personality, for one. The sheer fact of your genuineness is fun to watch.
And right? You have a hat.
But beyond that,
it hides the oldness. So
beyond that, I think one of the things though is you've done a really good job of presenting a platform for other creators to come on. And if you have those awkward moments, well, that's fine, because your buddy who is super good at marketing and carrying a conversation and filling in that empty time is there to help out. And that's one of the things that I love about the how accessible YouTube has gotten.
Yeah.
Is that so I'm really only great at one thing in the world. I talk. I'm excellent at talking.
Well, that's a good skill, though. It can take you very far.
Right.
That's actually my day job.
There you go.
So, but with that, that's the only thing I'm excellent at. I'm okay at some other things, but I'm excellent at talking. But I couldn't do a show like this. I couldn't entertain people. I couldn't engage people if it was just me yelling at a screen, right? You got to
Right.
have those other voices to bounce back again. You got to have that on there. And one of the things that we're at the moment with indie comics and with the convergence of indie comics and YouTube right now is that you can have content and you can allow people to have a space and you can work together to do
Yeah.
something that you alone couldn't do. And the
And,
internet,
and we don't all have to be on YouTube selling ourselves. And there's multiple ways to do this. I want to go off of like what Gary Vee says. Yeah, I'm gonna bring in Gary Vee to the discussion. If you're not comfortable being in front of a camera, go be a writer. Show your talents. If you're more of an artist, let your personality flow through in that area, and just do what's best, and people will come. That's that marketing where they say if you build it, they will come. Complete lies. Because you have to be able to show people that there is something there. If in today's world, in terms of the internet, it is oversaturated with content. And we're all fighting to get to the top. We're all fighting to get noticed. We're all being like, hey, I'm over here. So how do you create that earnest attention? It's by really engaging people. Because when you come down in today's society, especially with younger people, they are all looking for someone to just simply reach out and say, hey, how's it going? Simple as that. Because if you think about how many people go on about, I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that, and let's all say it. I'm not sure if all of us are Christians here, but our number one priority always should be to reach out to people. So we can add that right into our marketing. Marketing can almost become an extension of yourself by just simply saying, "How's it going? What you up to today? Hey, I saw that thing you did. It was really cool." Start out with some real casual stuff.
I hear you like comics.
hey kid, you want comics?
Let's talk a little while.
Even if it's a creepy personality, at least it's a person.
911, I'd like to make a report. This guy wanted to sell me some Marvel comics. At least that's what he said.
I will say though, like with this whole thing with personality, and I think Doug said something interesting. I have a personality, and people with personality shouldn't be trusted. And then the other one, 85% of top crowdfunding comics are about YouTube personalities and not comic talent. This whole thing that we're talking about, like, I just feel like I want growing up and being into what I was into, I was into Image Comics, early Image Comics, like those creators who created Image Comics before Image Comics. That's what I was especially into. That really got me going. And I wasn't into it because, like, now I'm into Rob Liefeld and McFarlane because I do actually think their personality is entertaining. But back then, all I had was one VHS of Stan Lee and them talking. Like, that was like the only thing I had of their personality. So, but their art style was kind of their personality. But I just think of other things too that I've loved in the past. Like, I like Harry Potter and things like that, and other like I don't know, Star Wars. Obviously, that's a good one. There's so many things that a lot of us like, and it wasn't really dependent on the creator's personality, really, even though later, because you like it, you got to know that. You started to read some interviews and stuff like that. And honestly, like, I think that as an indie creator, this is like our hack. Like, this is like, okay, this is how we start to get noticed. This is like how we get the momentum going. But I really want to work to the point where my creations are what people know. Like, even Harry Potter, like, I know who wrote Harry Potter, but I rarely ever think of her. Like, I'm invested in the characters when I watch the movies or read the books. And I think about that, and I think about the personalities of the characters, and then I'm like, well, this is so interesting. I really want to get into the mind of the person who made this. Same thing with Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and things like that. Like, yes, personality is a great way to get the ball moving for us, especially in this age, but at the same time, I would love to. I would love if one of my characters, was way more known than I am.
Well, and I think part of the issue with that, it's that well, let me back up a little. Part of what I think is really great about this moment isn't so much that we can produce audio content. I mean, people seem to enjoy my show, and I'm glad about that. But this was just something originally that me and Matt McGibson started, and he was going to do most of the talking while I was working on projects in the background. And it didn't work out that way, but that's okay. But it. And I'm glad people enjoy it. But the thing I think is great is it allows people to, like, other creators to come together, right? Yeah. And I think that with social media, we're in a place where we can find new collaborations, new partnerships, new ideas that can merge together and marry together and be force multipliers with each other, right? That's one thing you're talking about, like, Tim Lim and what they're doing.
Yep.
And it's not a huge secret, right? But Tim's building a universe, right?
Yep.
He's got Common America. He's got Black Ops. They're intrinsically indicated. There's other things that I'm not supposed to talk about in public. And pay attention to the details. Anyway, but yeah, there's things there, and it's a big fun thing where people are getting together and working together and creating something that's more than the sum of their parts. And I think that's one of the most important things that we have with this moment. And even I don't necessarily think that you've got to be the guy to make the most kind of a YouTube show to have something. You've just got to find people that care about the stories you're telling.
Right.
And I'm not sure I figured that out. I think I have people that just come to watch me say stupid things on the internet, but who knows? We'll see.
Well, and also, if you're a personality that's putting out a product and the product's crap, there's only so much that people are going to come back to you on. And I think the product should always come first. So like what Marcia's saying here, like, you want to be known for your creation, like that should be number one. The personality should become second. That should just be used as in a way in terms of marketing it. And I'm not saying that you have to do that. Like what works for me isn't going to work for everyone else. What works for Matt isn't going to work for everyone else. And these are just minute little details that you can use that might be of an advantage to you. Like, you've got a YouTube channel already, and you're already maximizing your ability to market yourself out there. You're already way ahead of the game than the most of us. And it's a lot about, like, just recognition, like, and in terms of that, like, are you selling something that people are going to trust? Or are they going to want to come back to it? Like, there's certain personalities out there that they are very unnamed right now, that they have put out a product and they're very huge. And I can tell you already that they've put out a poor product that I would never back again or even come back to because it was bad.
Well, and I think that's one of the points that I think really speaks down to what Doug's saying. I've been making books and pounding them out for 25 years.
Yep.
The fact that he consistently is making comics, right? He hasn't stopped. If they're like, if Doug's like, I'm going to introduce a new property this year, everyone's like, yeah, Newt's was awesome. Let's see another new thing,
Right.
I mean, that's something too with what Doug is saying. Like, that's actually, I think, the marketing of the past, but I think it's also marketing of the present. Like,
right.
We said that, build it and they will come is not actually a good plan, but at the same time, you do have to build a bunch of stuff. You have to have that track record.
Yep.
Like, when I back a Doug TenNapel project, I know it's going to happen. Like, when I back somebody else's project, I might 50-50 might get it,
Yeah.
I
gotta be honest.
People know him because of what he's created.
Yeah.
Like, people know what Creature Tech is. People know what Earthworm Jim is, and then even with him, you're finding out people are like, oh, I didn't realize he thought this about politics. I didn't realize he thought this about that.
Well, and part of that is creating trust with the audience and the readers that you're building. So from a standpoint, we're talking from like basic beginner level where we don't have any recognition to our name and we're just starting out putting out creations. And what Doug says right there too is true. If you're not putting out product and you're just swimming in the shallow, then you're not doing anything. And like what Tim and Doug and those guys have done is they put out products that and they're consistently putting out stuff and even if they're not getting sold at whatever base level that we consider success, they're going to keep doing it because it's not going to stop them. And
Well,
so,
I mean, that's one thing we've talked about on the show with so
Yeah.
many people. If you're not doing it because you believe in it, if you're not doing it for the love, then you're not doing it.
right.
Because the minute the cash dries up, it's over with because it's not real.
Well,
Right.
I am
And
definitely doing it.
think that kind of reality shows itself in the art. I
Right.
think
Right.
I think you can see that somebody has nothing to offer, and I think it's in the art, not necessarily in the draftsmanship, because I think some people are excellent draftsmen, but I mean in terms of what really matters. And this is my bias as a writer. It's the story that matters.
Right.
So
The other
one
thing you're addressing.
in all seriousness, one thing that Nick's bringing up that I think is interesting, and it's something I'm sure that I've heard before, but it's like, this conversation is really bringing it to the forefront, which is the story behind your story. Because the story you told behind Demon Hunter automatically started to engage me in your fictional story. So I'm really seeing that, and I'll add to that I am doing this for the love of it. I've written over 400 comic strips and counting. Twice a week I've updated, even though I'm in an academic program and my time is split. And I am self-funding my first superhero book because I love it so darn much, and I will do this for free. And I work side jobs on the side. I teach adjunct classes to make money so I can pay artists, because I'm terrified that even if I'm not successful, this story that I have in my mind must be told come hell or high water. And so if like from that quote from Atlantis, if I have to rent a rowboat, I will get to Atlantis. And if I have to teach adjunct classes at a community college, I will make my superhero book and my superhero universe happen. By golly, so help me.
Well, and I feel the same exact way on that.
Right.
I mean, we started, you go back and look at the Forces archives, the original art is rough. Why? Because 2 writers did all the art for it.
Mhm.
Because we believed in the universe so much. We thought that the comedy aspect was such a great tie-in to build the universe so that people could see it. But we were just like, it doesn't, the story is the most important thing. The story is the most important thing. The gags are the most important thing. Let's just go with it. And if it's terrible, well, lots of things are terrible, but the story is good.
And I want to point out what Twitless is talking about here is that passion sells. So he's passionate about what he's working on. And I imagine while you're at these side jobs and stuff, you're dreaming about making comics. You're dreaming about making art. And that can be a huge selling point to getting people on board to even listen to you about your project. Because if you're passionate, your passion can be spread like a wildfire, unfortunately, like what California's experiencing right now. Let it blow up. Let it become like your marketing strategy in a sense.
I thought you were saying, well, that's what California's going through, but let it blow up.
Let California die.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but that's hard to say it that way. Oh my God.
Demon Hunter Raven might be a little callous in terms of how emotionally abrupt it is in some cases. You think that way? Too bad for you. Anyways,
that emotional abruptness makes for great humor. I appreciate it.
as long as you're not going to the point where you're cutting off dramatic tension and you're killing things. So, I'm not saying I'm a perfect writer. I've got to prove myself in that area, and that I'm open to critiques, even if it hurts sometimes. But because I think, and I'm going on a different tangent here. When we're writing, and okay, the artist is shutting off. The writer's coming out now. Is when you're writing and it's from a personal level, and someone goes, "I didn't like your story." Sometimes that hits us in a personal manner. Like, well, you don't like me. Like that can be crushing, and that can really hurt. But at the end of the day, they don't see it from that perspective. I think a lot of times. Oh, go
one
ahead.
of the big dangers of catharsis in writing.
Yeah.
If it's too close, then when somebody is just like, well, this wasn't a logical take, and it's like, dude, this actually happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess they wouldn't quite act like that, would they?
But when you're investing that much time into something, and the criticism, you gotta have thick skin in this game, because even in the indie game, like we're not near mainstream, we're not Doug level, where he's getting it from all fronts. People even that might like his work, they're trying to cancel him. We're nowhere near that level, and I think what you need to ask yourself is, where do you want to go with this? So one of the things that I do in the aspect of my day job is, we plan out what our month is going to be. and where we want to go. And so marketing plays a huge part in terms of like, well, if you want to get there, you've got to present a product. You've got to go out there. So just as much as putting in the work of creating the product, you've got to also make people aware of that product. How do you do that? How do you make people aware of your product? And, like we were talking earlier, you're sharing your passion. You're going to all these places. You can do it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Don't cut yourself off from these areas. We're small.
One of the things that I think is, and this is kind of a question, put this out for the table. It's sort of a weird place in that I'm in a place right now where we are, we've crowdfunded a book. We didn't quite hit goal, but we made enough money to make the thing. And that was like in the summer of 2019. And our artist bailed on us, our pencil artist. We have a penciler and an inker. And the pencil artist, had some stuff happen in life, and he's just like, I can't keep doing this. I'm done.
Did you ground him?
Yeah, that's how it works. And
I was making a joke that isn't.
It's your kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it isn't
my kid.
Okay.
My son is working on a different book right now. But with the Expositioner, Solo Voce book, it was stuck in the air. It was like there. So my ink artist and partner, business partner Barry, is redrawing it from page 1. Right. So we're 3 pages in now instead of being 12 pages in. We're already late with all this other stuff, and now we're back to square one. I don't even I still talk about it. We still talk about our stuff, but I don't like to talk about it like saying, hey, this is a great story that I really believe in, because I do, but like you can't look at it and the people that already paid for it. And I offered all of them refunds and none of them want them. So,
well, you know what though? I mean, Nick said it before, he was saying like, you put out your passion out there. It doesn't, if you kind of show the struggle too, like you're working your day job. I mean, that's why I have a series on my YouTube channel, which I'm about to revive, the Working Artist blog, and, talk to people about the process of losing his penciler and having to start fresh, like those flaws or those things that you think of as weaknesses that's actually your greatest strength in marketing sometimes,
Right.
Put it out there, and people have empathy,
And be upfront, be honest.
Yeah. I hate losing pencilers. It is that takes the wind right out of your sails, because you have to start
just learn how to draw.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, we have
it's so easy.
It is really tough. We actually had the first book we were going to do as a company. Back in the day, we had an artist for it. It was called Something to Believe, or Reason to Believe, and it was a slice of life meets superhero sort of a take on, and I was really happy with it. It was my magnum opus. We got a third of the way in, and the pencil artist flaked, and the ink artist is like, if she's not, I'm not. So I was like, oh, so it just sat in the back of my hard drive for a long time.
Sarah Weaver has a really good question in the comments that would be really good to address.
Cool.
It's on the YouTube part.
Yeah.
It says,
but what I was saying with it, and that was a question I was going to run into. So that's a good segue. But one of the things that I came to with it is it sat for a long time, like 10 years, like 10 or 12 years. And I met another artist I loved her style. I thought it fit really well. I pitched her the idea, and she's just like, I'm not sure this is quite right. And I'm like, you're right. And it needs like the first act rewritten. And I'm really, like, looking back, I'm actually really glad that it kind of fell through all those years ago, because like the first act it's not what it should be. It doesn't have all of the movement it needs. And so I'm actually really happy about that, believe it or not. So, but yeah, Sarah says, when does marketing actually begin while working on a project? After it's done, I actually started blogging the overall process. So I know that, like, for me, where we're at right now, I really kind of feel that until the one project is done, other than the things that people can go out, you can go to the idealcomics.net. You can check out some of our old blogs. We've got some history pieces. You can link to our web comics that are up there. And so I like to talk about that sort of thing. That's my website, by the way. I'll be putting a store on there so you can buy e-comics. But as far as stuff that's in the mix, I don't really want to talk about some of the stuff I've got working on because it's not done yet, and I don't want to get into the same boat I was in before, where it's like, oh hey, so people were kind of excited about this, and now it's dead. It's on life support. We're whatever. But I think that varies based on who you are, right?
Right.
So,
At the risk of being super vulgar, I know, and this analogy is probably going to be terrible. But I know that some people, here we go. When some people get pregnant, right? It's basically the same question of when do you announce that you're having a baby, right? Because if you announce it too early and then something happens, it's really, it's soul crushing for you, and the expectations and everything else. So I almost think that the logic, I think there's a kind of parallel logic though, because you need to have your work in enough of a trimester or whatever that it's probably going to work out.
So number one to start off with is you need a product to market. But if you're just simply going out there, hey, I'm starting out the Great Shepherd battles next week, so what? Prove to us you're going to do it. Start showing stuff. Maybe if you're a penciler or an inker, and you're just showing the progress of your art every day, that's a good way just to start out. But this can be a bad situation as well. Let's say you want to copyright your characters. You want to get them out there, and you plan on going further with them. So you can show progress, but at the same time, you might want to think about how long this will take you to do it. If it takes you 5 years to do something, you might want to think about some stuff. Because I've put out stuff and then in turn had it stolen from me. So you sit on this threshold of like, you're putting out stuff, you're trying to gain a momentum, get people to see your things come in, but at the same time you stand to withhold to have people steal things from you. You're putting out an idea. So sometimes it's better to have a finished product and then kind of retroactively start showing stuff from there on. Because once you know you have something and you can present it, you can go back and show this behind the scenes, plan that out.
And I think one of the things you have too is you get somebody like Doug or somebody like Ethan or somebody even like Tim, right?
Yeah.
Where they've got a record of getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Right. You know eventually you're going to get it, or you know exactly when you're going to get it, depending on who they are or whatever.
Yep.
And so when Doug announces, I'm doing Earthworm Jim 2,
yep.
He can show the entire process of that, and people are engaged the entire way through because they know what's going on with it. I mean, he was working on pages on that when he was finishing up the campaign for Bigfoot Bill.
Right.
So for Bigfoot Bill 2. So that was one of those things where, you got a lot of trade-off from that sort of a thing. But he's also got that reputation.
Yeah.
And I think that for somebody like me, it's a whole different story. Now I've got a 28 page story that is hopefully we're going to be getting done by the first quarter of next year.
Mm-hmm.
The pencil art's all done. I'm just waiting on the inks. And my son is doing the inks on them, and they are coming out amazing. But you can't see it yet. You can't see it yet because it's only 4 pages in. So
right. Well, and I want to use Tyler Carpenter's current project he's working on called The Chefs. He's in production on it right now, but he is completing it. He's setting schedules and deadlines for himself, and he's telling that to us. So in turn, us as the audience can be like, Tyler, what you got? Are we going to see anything anytime soon? So then you've created this trust with your audience, your readers, the people that are following you. Yep. You have to keep that, because guess what? If you start failing them, what's going to make them stay? What's going to keep them? Very few people in this group, in this reality that we're in, have the ability to just lose 1,000 people. That might be all you have. You might only have 20. You can't afford to lose those 20. And this is where I want to start with. So we're not on the big guy tier. We're on that beginner level. And so what you really need to do is you need to pay attention to the people that are following you right now, and pay attention to them and give them special treatment, basically. Those are the people you're going to take out to dinner, Toitless. Those are the people that you're going to pay special treatment. You're giving them extra stuff.
So I think it's funny because I probably disagree with all of you to a certain extent on one point here.
I love it.
But I want to say, like, the special treatment thing to people who are following you, I'm 100%. Like, this is what I do. This is exactly what I do. I have a Discord, for the people who follow my YouTube and who are interested in making comics. And this thing has blown up, and I just go deeper and deeper and deeper into that. Like, I
Yeah.
know these people, like these like people who are here watching. Some of them are from that, and I've talked to them and stuff, and so go dive deep with the 20 people who actually care about your stuff, and then the 30 people and the 40, and maybe eventually enough to sustain something. So totally with that. As far as the when do you start, for me, right now, today, like this is when you start. Like it takes. The thing is uh, Jeff Lafferty, a friend of mine, he makes that comic Berserker. Not he once said this in a YouTube video, and he was saying like when you have a railroad train, or like a train or whatever, it takes a ton of like coal and whatever it is, the fire, like you have to get a lot of that going just to get that wheel to move like an inch, so much work. But once you got that thing rolling, you don't need as much, so the thing is, I mean, I've made mini comics and I've worked on anthologies and stuff like that, but I have yet to put out a substantial product. That's what I'm working towards right now, is a substantial product, hopefully in the beginning of this coming year. But I made over 800 videos on YouTube. I've done all kinds of stuff on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I've been doing this for many, many years. I'm just trying to get that locomotive rolling, and when I finally do hit that Indiegogo, I'm hoping that it pays off,
Yeah,
and
I think one of the things.
I don't know, it hasn't been proven yet, but hopefully it will,
Yeah, well, I think one of the things you're looking at too, Marsh, that's different from like kind of what I'm talking about too, because I don't think we're really disagreeing on stuff. We're just in a different place, because you've got a significant fan base, right? I mean, how many subs does your YouTube channel have? And they all come for the art. None of them come for the snark, because you don't do snark.
Yeah. You got like 3,000 people sub to you, don't you? Is that what I saw?
On the YouTube channel, I'm less than 50 away from 10K at this point.
Dang.
Okay.
See, you're slumming it in my show, man. I appreciate it, but God.
But the thing is, at the same time, like, yeah, that. But then I'm sitting here on your show, and you have however many subscribers you have, and you got a lot of interaction going on. So, like what he's saying, the people who you have are solid. And I don't always have that much in my chat. I was on a live stream last night, and I had a decent amount, but it wasn't like very like interactive. It was just kind of me talking to a buddy of mine, and sometimes the chat would say something. So, it's also the quality of subscribers. Those subscribers came through, like, I started YouTube almost when YouTube started, and it was not focused on comics back then. I focused on like 5 different things before about 3 years ago, when I finally was like comics. So there's a lot of subscribers who may not even pay attention anymore. So that number is a lot smaller in reality than what it looks like,
Yeah. And you also do your live streams like at dawn. So I almost never catch one because it's so early. I'm a night owl.
They used to be that way. Now my schedule's different, and I've been doing them later now, like around this time. So
okay. Well, I'll have to keep.
I wanted to ask for further clarification. What did you think you were disagreeing with us on, or people?
Okay. So you were talking about like you need to have a product or be close to a place where the product is getting close to finished, or it's like within that, which trimester do you? To me, like, I get it. Like, if I was having a baby, I wouldn't announce it till like I'm like, that thing is pretty much done. That's a different thing to me. Usually that analogy works, but in this case, it doesn't feel right to me. But that being said, like, to me, I still don't have that substantial project, and I've done so much stuff, with social media and YouTube and things like that. So I don't know. To me, it just takes so much, because the thing is a lot of people don't realize like what you really need when you first do an Indiegogo. A lot of people see these successful Indiegogos and they're like, oh yeah, when I come out, it's going to be good. and then they come out and it's crickets. I have
Yeah.
a friend of mine who's doing an Indiegogo right now, and he has been building that audience, but it's still, it's he's doing well, but he's still not at his goal, and it's hard. It's really hard. You really gotta you can't just like wait, to start building that audience, I feel like.
I want to clarify that statement though, because I 1,000% agree with you. What I was just trying to say is, like, when do you announce that project? You can market all the way up until any point, but you want to make sure that you have something to actually substantially put out the minute you say, I'm putting this out there. Because I agree 100%. If you're going to go to Indiegogo or Kickstarter and you're going to present something like, hey, I got a book, and you launch and there's no one knows about it, you're going to hit, like you said, crickets. So you need to start marketing beforehand if you want to, because the idea behind Kickstarter and Indiegogo is you're bringing your fans to those places.
Yeah.
You're not hoping that they'll suddenly be like, oh, hey, look at this cool book.
You're talking about the difference between marketing an audience and marketing the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things about, like, a lot of the way we have with the interactive media we have is that you can make creating your product part of the marketing.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what Doug does. That's what Ethan does, right? Or did anyway. I haven't watched the channel in more than a year. But I mean, like, you see people drawing on stream. You see people engaging in the process on stream. You see people talking over their creative notes on stream. Every Tuesday, me and the Ideal Comics guys get together on the Ideal Comics channel, and we just, we have our brainstorming sessions on air, and we talk about Star Wars, or we talk about action figures or whatever else while we're, clicking our little buttons and coloring our little pictures and all that kind of stuff. And that's that's just something that we've wanted to do for a while and done for a while, and but that can be an audience building too. So we're kind of talking about sort of different things, right? Because, like, I say that I want to wait. I'm talking about new products that I want to sell, not about getting our audience engaged. I want, even we're going to be looking to host a Mirror of Forces. I'm going to be going back through the archives and coloring them, and we're going to be posting a mirror on Webtoons. I might be streaming my coloring while I'm working on that. It just depends on what else I got going on. And people can watch me badly color a comic I drew not so wonderfully 15 years ago, because that's how long I've been doing this.
There's one thing I wanted to bring up here.
Audits, by the way, it's a part of my DNA at this point. I can't get away.
I wanted to, Marsh, you're talking about engagement. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of want to come from a standpoint of, okay, so you have this really good YouTube following, but you're talking about, like, lack of engagement. And I wanted to bring up, because recently Jason Brubaker, do you guys know Jason Brubaker? He just got an Indiegogo called Phobos right now. And he was talking about how when he first started out, he was putting a lot of free content to get people to generate common, interest before he was on Webtoons. And he said it was really hard for him to convert his fan base over to a monetization group. So he had a good following, and they were all really into the free content they were getting. But when he started switching over to monetization, his audience switched. And I don't know if that's, like, what you're thinking about, but, like, how do you, like, so Marsh is in a way different sphere than what we are in, is he has an audience, and it sounds like you're talking about engagement. So then you need to think of things that help you engage with them. Like, how do you get them to interact with you? But it sounds like you're already to the point where, like, you could put out a product and you could have people follow you and go to that next step. And I think,
and especially
that's
about,
what people keep saying, like, because I keep talking about I'm going to do an Indiegogo in the early next year, and everybody's like, oh, you'll fund and stuff like that, and I'm like, I've watched a lot of these things happen. I'm not guaranteed, and I am going to put that Indiegogo as low as I can possibly put it to where it makes sense reasonably, because there is no guarantee. But yeah, I agree. Like, engagement is great. That's why I did the Discord, but even still, it's like is that fan base interested in buying my comic? They follow me because they get great tips about making their comics,
Right.
So like,
And
So
here's
you might have several fans layered within your audience already. Do you have the ones that want to buy your content, the ones that are for your tutorials? And I'm bringing up Gary Vee again, as in, if you're not doing it, you'll never know. You won't know who's going to come. But those people that are buying might suddenly go back to those people that are there for the free content and go, hey, he puts out good quality content. You should be buying. And then you kind of start this peer pressure effect. And it might not happen with your first one, but second, third one, you might start seeing that number of readers grow. Like, again, we're bringing up Tim and Mark. And the count for Common America 2 right now is insane for the amount of backers they have compared to what they've had in the last few. But that's because they've created that. Just number 2 for this book. And they're close to 1,000 backers now, aren't they? Or did they hit that already?
in 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think while you don't have that guarantee, I think you're going to see, like you were talking about the train effect yesterday. Oh gosh, the train analogy of keep going further. I think you're going to see that you're going to gain more attention in that sphere the more you do it.
And I
So
think
you've been doing free content for so long.
I think
What's
one
up?
thing to look at too, Marsh, is that I'm not you had I don't know all the details, and it's not my business to know, but you disappeared for a little while, and when you came back, like everyone was like, "Where the hell were you, man?" Right? Those were some of the comments that I saw coming across your channel. Is people were like, "Finally, you show up." People are anxious to see what you got going. I think that's a really good sign.
Yeah.
That you've already built that. And one of the things, talking about the Discord audience and the Discord fans, one of the things I really want to relate that to is another success story. You look at like what Brian Ball and Trent Luther have done with their Rags property,
Yeah.
right? Their fan base are insanely dedicated. They are roping their friends and family into buying this Naked Ginger book.
They just want pants.
They do, and they like I think they were on. I think it was last week. It was or 2 weeks ago. It was insane. But the thing that they have done is they've converted their fans into a marketing team that is just like Dynamite, because they do so good by their fans. They do so good by their customers. They really, really believe in it, and so they're in the product and in the community, and so the community believes in them and just runs at it. And I think that's one of the things that I suspect, looking at the kind of engagement you do have, looking at the people that come back after streams and leave comments, looking at the nature of them, I think you're going to find yourself, you get 1 or 2 products under you. I think you're going to see some of those same guys that have been lurking for 10 years are going to be just like, nah, man, Marsh is my boy. I'm putting my money down. I guarantee you some of the people bought Legends of Lone Wolf because your name was on it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I hope it works out that way. But, the thing is to me, my plan is to do the Doug TenNapel thing. I had Peter Cimetti on not too long ago, and, I asked him, some things about, what do you think is a good route for somebody to actually make a career out of this thing? And, that's a tough question for anybody to answer, even people who have careers with it, because everybody's so different. But one thing that he said that really resonated with me is, do an Indiegogo or Kickstarter or whatever, and then do another one, and then do another one, and then do another, and keep building. And it's not going to be something where you come out the gate and you're like, I'm successful. It's going to be a build, and you have to build that reputation. Like, I haven't proven that I can come through on a book and send it to people yet. I have to do that first, and then once I do that once, maybe I'll get it a little bit better the next time, and then keep building. I mean, Clint Stoker, he did that, 2 Downcasts, it was like gradual, and now Fatal's blowing up,
Well, and I think that's a big part of it, is just that plug. And speaking about Doug, I want to go back to something that he had said in the thing there, back in the chat a while back ago. I've seen noobs come in with great ideas and nail an amazing story. The Max came from nowhere. Sandman came from nowhere, and he was talking about where was it? Oh, Alan Moore, Jeff Smith, Mike Magnolia, all of them came from nothing. right? And so these guys that just they put in the work and they kept producing and kept producing and kept producing and just grinding and grinding and grinding. And that's Polito's story, right? That's Doug Naples' story. That's the bottom line. And like it is a big part of it is like, you know, you've got an audience, you've got, you have people that believe in your product. You just got to get the product. And I think the more you work on that, I think people are going to jump on board with that. And regardless of whether you want to wait to announce till you have something big, or if you want to let people in on the whole trip, I think they're going to see that progress, because I think you already have that in there. That's built into the Marshall Lee brand.
I think that's the great thing is Marshall already has a built-in platform where he can announce these things to people. And that's where like the rest of us are trying to get to that point where we have a platform to stand on, where he can go out and just say like, yeah, I've got a book idea and this is where I want to go with it from a month from now. And he can keep his audience updated on that thing. The rest of us are trying to create that audience. So where you're marketing and where you're going to go from there is going to be a little bit different than where we're coming from. As in we're still trying to create that respect and get our brand and awareness out there. Because then you have that where people are already going to go like, he's good. We can stand by that. He's going to do something. Now, the next thing that you need to do is you just need to prove that you can deliver on the other side of it. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier is there's been a lot of guys that delivered and it didn't go anywhere. So that's where you need to take it to the next step of just like, as you said, I think at the beginning, you were talking about like, you want your creations to be the thing that stands out, not your personality. Right. And I think we can all sit here and be like, that's what we all want at the end of the day, is we want the stories, the content, the art, all that to be what stands up. Our personality is just what's marketing it right now. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can go.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you really have there is where you're at, like you say, you feel like you don't have enough product out there to really just put a stamp on it. You haven't delivered and fulfilled something on your own. Well, that's the missing piece for you, right? So just
technically you are actually delivering product right now. Sorry, not to cut you off, but you technically are delivering product right now. You're delivering your stuff, your content, your tutorials. You technically already are delivering things. It's just in a different capacity than what you want to right now. So like in my field right now, as we talk about how do you want to transform over into that area? Do you want to do that 3 months from now? You want to do that from 6 months from now? Like, where do you like? In most businesses, they set up a 5-year goal plan. How are you going to achieve that? What are you going to do? And how do you be flexible in that? Like, how do you prepare for the inevitable road bumps that come along? So you want to do a 30-page comic. How long does that take you to do that? And what happens if you come into issues or something comes up to derail that? So you can draw. You don't have to worry about what these guys have to worry about. Like, hey, my artist just bailed on me. I got nothing. So, do you need to team up with a writer?
I was totally thinking about that because I'm like, you never know. Somebody could bail on me, and then it's like, hey, say exactly what you're saying. Yep. I'll just draw it then, I guess.
Yep.
Well, and that's one thing too. Is like, you of course have your real life. Somebody could light your garage on fire. Who knows? Somebody could leave human fecal matter in your driveway. It's a crazy world. You never know what's going to happen.
I'm sorry about that, Matt. I didn't mean to. Okay.
I do think, though, because there's been a recurring pattern of people who, and I'm not talking about anyone here, but I'm talking about people who have an idea for a comic. No, I'm not talking about you, because like I said, you have, even if it's a webcomic, you know how to get an idea from concept to publication, even if it's digital, right? But there's an increasing number of people who just have a good idea for a comic. And then I'm not even blaming these people. I'm just saying that they then have to learn every lesson of becoming a comic book industry unto themselves.
Yeah. And
because of all the lessons and mistakes you have to learn, and that's what I'm learning as I'm doing my superhero book, Adventures of Omega Girl. I am so glad I personally didn't do the crowdfund route, because there were just so many mistakes I needed to make. And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't have someone else's money riding on me for this.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight to carry.
I totally get that too. And that was one of the really frustrating things with this project is we have books in print. We've self-published them. We've done mini comics. We've got, 2007, right? I mean, we've been through that, and yet still we're fighting, we're still behind the 8 ball, but that's okay. It's life.
But there's a whole string of people who, their books are like, 2 years, count them in late. And sometimes, I'm sure some of them are just scams, but
some of them are in Walmart.
But to give the benefit of the doubt, I think some of them are just fans of comics,
Yep.
passionate people, and they just didn't know how hard it was.
And
Yeah.
here's the funny thing. I want to go back to Polito again for a second, because I had a chance to meet him a few years ago. He was at a Comic-Con in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which is just up the road and down the way from me, right? And he was actually tabled directly behind the Ideal Comics table. And so I was like, that's Brian Polito. So at the end of the con, he was getting ready to wrap up. And I said, before you go, I know you're getting ready to leave. I don't want to hold you up, but I got to tell you, I'm not actually a fan. But I said, your stuff's never been my thing. But you were the cover of Wizard way back in the 90s. And he's like, self-publishing is insane. I was like, yes, that was the article. That was one of the reasons we self-publish. Like, I read that, I saw it, and
now I want to read that.
when my co-writer came to me and said, we should start a company, we keep getting rejection letters, let's just do it. We know we can do it, let's just do it. And I said in my mind, well, yeah, I guess I can. And we did. And I said, I want to let you know that, like, how much, like, your drive, like, meant to me. And it was one of those things. He was like, well, thank you. And he went on about his way and everything. But I mean, that's part of the thing is, like, you know, that's there. Like, there have been people that have been through this road before. You know, you go back to Bob Burden and Flaming Carrot and you know, even back to R. Crumb, right? People have tread this. It's doable. You can do it. And if you believe in it, you should. But also, it's also was crazy. Like, a couple of years back when this started, you know, blowing up on the Twitter and people started making their own comics, the number of people that made, you know, rookie errors and weren't sure how big to make the books. And I mean, like, dude, that's readily available knowledge. It's super simple to find. I found it on a dial-up connection in 2003. So, but yeah, I think that's one of those things that, like, you know, it's doable, and that's one of the things I make in the books, and is something that's it's within people's grasp, and making comics, whether your genre is comedy or horror or superhero action or you know, the sword and sandal stuff that Matt Krotz does, stories matter, and these the legends and these stories that help us to understand what it means to be human, they matter. And if you got the drive, you gotta make the book.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to.
I agree.
It's almost a holy quest. For some people, it probably is. You know,
It is. Yeah.
The whole.
I think it's interesting though that also that you bring up, you know, Ryan Polito, which, you know, I've always known of Lady Death, but I had no clue who he was or anything. Same with you. Like, I'm not really interested in his book or whatever, but other people like that, you know, you mentioned The Crow earlier, you know, I think of like Cerebus, like, what is it? What was that one? The one with the elves or the dark elves or something?
Elf Quest?
No. The one they have like the long, really long ears. It's dark. Anyways, there was a indie comic scene back then, you know, and I mean, Ninja Turtles are kind of part of that. They were crazy though. You know, and it's just interesting because it's funny because back then also the Image guys were doing their thing, and so this is interesting to see that the question we've been talking about is like, the Image guys, you know, they worked on Spider-Man, they worked on X-Men, they worked on, you know, all this stuff. That's how they got their platform. That plus really cool art is how they got their platform. And then you got these other guys who are in the indie scene. It was partially their personality and their passion. You know, he read an article about Lady Death. He probably bought a Lady Death comic after that at some point. You know, like Cerebus, like, when I read Cerebus, because I heard all the hype, I'm like, what is this? This is like the most boring thing I've ever read in my life. But what I found out later after the fact is the reason people were reading Cerebus is because of the letters column in the back and how he talked about the industry and how to make indie comics. That was like the biggest thing that really, pushed that book, and a lot of the passion of all these other ones as well, like, was the creator behind it. So it's interesting.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, Cerebus, Dave Sim and Bob Burden were both from the South, part of the like Georgia, South Carolina indie scene back in the day. And I end up, my wife made the online acquaintance of Roxanne Starr, I can't remember her first name right now, who did all of Burden's lettering and kind of invented computer lettering in the 80s.
Cool.
Because she was just like, Flaming Carrot, that sounds interesting. So she kind of dug into it, and I was able to get a hold of Bob and bought some books from him for my wife as a surprise, including this Cerebus Flaming Carrot crossover.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if you ever have a chance to read Flaming Carrot stuff, it's bizarre. Some of it's ridiculously obscene, but Starr's lettering is like school for lettering. It's amazing. It was like, just looking at how she did it, like, transformed my entire idea about lettering. Nice. So Flaming Carrot is worth reading for the satire, but just for the lettering too.
Wow. I've never heard that about a comic. Nobody's ever said, read this comic just for the lettering.
it was something that just kind of stuck out to me. I hadn't really noticed it, but then I was sort of like, there's something different about this. So I started looking into it. And of course, the fact my wife had made like had interchanges with her sort of made me start thinking about it in those terms, but it's wild. It's wild. Good stuff. Well, guys, it's been 2 hours and change. I want to thank you guys so much. We'll leave a chance to closing words, where to find all your stuff, all that kind of thing. But I do want to thank you guys for coming on. This is the first time we are on Facebook, we are on Twitch, we are on YouTube. Hooray. So for those of you guys, if there's any of you on Twitch who are watching, I've never streamed before, and you probably didn't stick around because I'm not playing video games. But if you did, I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if people, I've been on Twitch so infrequently, I can't remember if people even subscribe, but there you have it. I'll hopefully be on next week. I do not have a guest lined up, so I might just be bringing some of my other pals on to talk about what we're in the middle of or whatever. I don't know. I had some plans in mind and they didn't come out, so we're making it up next week.
If you need another guest, I'm open Thursday, I think.
There you go. And maybe I'll see if people maybe we could throw together another Christianity and comics stream, since we kind of started talking that way. And
I'd love to be on one of those. That's pretty cool. I'm always happy to come on too if you're ever needing someone.
Cool, man.
Me too.
And like I said, I really appreciate you guys coming on. I know Nick's been. It was actually funny. He reached out to me on Twitter about a month ago, and he says, "I've never watched your show live because I have other things to do, but I love it." And I was like, "Okay." Next week, Doug Ernst is on, and he's like, "I'll be there live."
Yeah.
It's interesting, the appeal of live. Like I have a lot of people comment, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to see it live," or "Oh crap, I didn't get to see it live." And I'm like, "What's the big deal?" But then I've been starting to watch live videos more, and I'm like, it is cool because you can put a comment in, and they'll acknowledge you, and it's pretty neat.
Hey,
it's a good way to engage and interact with your fans and creators, and get it, simp for whoever you want to.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I think there's a fun exchange on that too. If you can fit the time in for a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. But like Marsh, I appreciate your stuff. I think you have a lot to offer the indie comics community. You're way less snarky, which is good, because I can't tone down the snark. So I think it's important that there's somebody who's just nice out there, and you're one of those guys. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So yeah, I just and of course, Twitless, you're here. So.
Apparently I'm the diversity hire.
Yeah, I don't hire anyone. I don't.
I just
I have about actually, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I could go off on tangents, but we're trying to wrap up. Nick, you launch Tuesday.
Yes.
How big is the book?
Well, it's going to have 3 books altogether. Chapter 0 is 12 pages. Chapter 1 is 48 pages. And then Chapter 2 has the potential to go from 34 pages to 40 pages. And if we hit a funding goal, I will add another chapter with 20 pages. So you could get potentially 4 books with close to 80 to 100 pages. And that's not counting the catalog of other books I have that are add-ons, other tiers. And I have a special 1-day discount that if you back the first day, I have a 24-hour period where there will be a whole bunch of discounts on things. That's only for day 1 backers, for people that have been following, have been loyal fans, or just jumping onto the bandwagon right now. So potential for more pages.
Can you screen share your crowdfund?
I have no idea how to.
Okay.
I'm looking at it. I'm
at the bottom. At the bottom, there's that little thing with a red slash through it, which actually looks like it shouldn't let you do it. But if you click that, it'll let you share screen, and then you have 3 options: your entire screen, application window, or Chrome tab, or whatever browser I guess you're using. And then you can pretty much just click the tab, and it'll share it. And then Reese just has to put it up.
Yep.
It's not giving me that option. It says hi.
Oh, okay.
If you want to drop a link or something in the link, I can do that in the chat on YouTube.
Yeah, you can do that. I'll load it up.
Do that.
I was going to share earlier. We were talking about Titania. This is my character, Titania.
Oh, that's way better.
Yeah. This is drawn by Carl Toons, Carl Pencilman. He was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he took off or not.
Yeah.
He did a pencil sketch, and I actually did the inks and colors on it. So I'm pretty pleased about that.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a retired superhero who now teaches is a professional at the school. So this is live, Tim. This is live. We are live. Not for long, but we are live.
We're tired.
So
we're kind of old.
It's been long. So I still have Eat Supper. Yeah, that is actually, she was, we did name her after the Queen of the Fairy. So, but yeah. And her daughter is one of the students in Villain School. So that's awkward. Along with her twin sister, Donna Matrix. That's my comic. So yeah, that it's free. You can check it out. Forcesofgoodandevil.net. So there you have it. Marsh, people can. Oh wait, where did?
I guess he just didn't like that joke, or he got tired of us.
Suspended.
I don't know what happened. Oh, there he's back. He's back. Hang on, I got.
Don't let him in. Don't let him.
I heard that.
I didn't say anything.
I don't know what happened. Where did you go?
My computer locked, or my browser just locked up completely. It was weird.
This never lies unless someone's spilling coffee on themselves. It's a rare coffee and alcohol-free stream. I was in so late I didn't have time to pour myself anything or refill my coffee. So so that's the ticket. That's the ticket. Oh yeah. So Tim, it's Restream because it's a different platform that allows me to stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So I'm trying that out. I stole the idea from
StreamYard.
Yeah, normally I do StreamYard just because, but I don't want to pay them anything because I don't have anything. So, because I make comics.
Yeah, right.
But Marsh, where can people find you?
They can find me at donkeyjawprojects.com. It's the website that needs a lot of work. And then you can also find me on Marsh Comics on Twitter and on Marsh Makes Comics on YouTube. That's the best place to find me.
Yeah. And Twitless. Talk.
So I did a screen share. So I
You're down the list. I
always try to do, this is my bare minimum attempt at marketing, where I try to show off at least a little bit of my art from my upcoming superhero book. This is The Adventures of Omega Girl. This is a labor of love, and it's for people who are fans and enjoy classic kind of, I wouldn't say golden silver age, but kind of like golden silver age in spirit. So kind of like in when superheroes used to be noble and inspiring. And so this is a double page spread from the first issue we're hoping to put out. Should be coming out this fall. I just sent pages to the colorist, and we'll be getting a cover soon. So it's going to be 24 pages and 4 adventures. So you get 4 adventures for the price of 1 book. So
Sold.
Sweet.
So
Looks
Yeah.
nice.
thank you.
there you go. Sarah said, hell, nice.
Thank you.
I'm excited for it. I, of course, am Reese. You can follow me on Twitter, or here. You can sub to my channel if you're on YouTube.
Subscribe.
There
Do
you
it.
go. And you can click the bell for notification, I hear.
Smash that like button.
And
Yes.
you can smash that like button like it's, somebody's face. I don't know. I'm not creative.
Hitting that bell is really important, though. Actually,
Yeah,
like that's what you might not get a notification for a subscription, but you'll get that notification for the bell.
That's weird.
Yeah, they've changed on that here. Wait, here you go. Twitless, here's a question for you. You mean they're not edgy, morally gray, emotional wrecks who don't know their sexuality is? Bold.
Bold, yeah. I'm at the intersection of Stunning and Brave Avenue. You can also catch me. Sorry, I also write a webcomic. Updates twice a week. That's a comedy. So if you're more interested in that, superschooled.com. Superschooled with a K because I can't spell worth a darn. And it is a 4 panels twice a week. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's very much like Forces of Good and Evil if you're not interested in the deep lore or psychological issues. So,
If you're not interested in things making sense.
So one's Marvel and one's DC.
Yes,
That's fair.
that is fair. I'm not sure. I'm not going to argue about who's who, but I think that's
Whichever one you like, that one's me.
Titans. Both of them are funny. So
One's unintentionally funny though.
they're both really funny. I think. I'm going for funny. Are you going for funny? Oh, here you go. Super school for superheroes who can't spell good and want to learn other stuff.
Tim's going to be my new marketing manager.
That's amazing. I need to get Tim back up. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it. Thank you guys for sticking around. And for those of you who stuck around through the nonsense, I really do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with some people that we'll announce. I don't even know who yet. It might even be all these guys. Who knows?
Just deja vu.
Who knows? Who knows what it'll be? But we may.
Next time we'll come on and we'll try to stay on topic again and probably not do it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap it, guys. Thanks so much for coming on, and for you guys for tuning in. And next week, there'll be more at the Mattriarchy. Later, guys.